everybody, and welcome to another one of my Top 5 Wednesday videos. This is a fantastic Goodreads group hosted currently by Sam from thoughtsontomes. It gives you a weekly topic to talk about, so I'll leave everything in the description down below so you can check it out if you're interested. This week's topic happens to be books without romance. This is after the string of our ships in the latest Top 5 Wednesday discussions, so we took a break from relationships, and now we're going to talk about books with no relationships in them, or if you can't find a lot of no relationship books, it has to be very, very minor, only mentioned a couple of times at the most. And so I've compiled a set of 5 books that I feel like really exemplify this type of theme. First, we have The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. This takes place where the time traveler is recounting his journey into the future, where he sees these two drastically different cultures, and so his mind is pretty boggled by it, and he just has to tell people before he goes back. And I do not recall any relationship within this really short, like 120-page story. The next story I have for you is The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. This story centers around a boy named Nobody Owens as he grows up in a graveyard, being raised by the spirits and the haunts of said graveyard because there is a murderer after him. And there is a little bit of a childhood cute relationship in the story itself, but it's not a romantic relationship. They're just cute little play dates. The next story I have for you is The Orphan Train by Christina Baker Klein. This book centers around two girls that meet up and both share common stories. We have a 17-year-old girl named Molly who has to complete a community service project in order to stay in her foster family, and in doing so she meets an Irish immigrant named Vivian, and as she is cleaning out her attic she learns a lot about Vivian's past being a new immigrant to America in the 1920s, and there's a lot of heartbreaking stories between both characters as you learn their lives and how they both end up healing each other and moving through all of those past turmoils. And the book title comes from the fact that Vivian is orphaned as a child and has to go on trains to different cities in hopes of getting adopted into a new family. And so the way these two characters mingle and everything, it's just so breathtaking. There isn't really any relationships that I remember in this book. I know Molly has a boyfriend, and her boyfriend helps her actually get the service project, but it's not really relationship based at all. The fourth book on my list is a book I just barely finished reading this past month, and that is called NPCs by Drew Hayes. This is a book that mashes novels with D&D, and we have some NPCs, also known as non-playable characters, that assume the roles of adventurers when adventurers come into their town and are killed by their poor decisions. And in order for the king to not burn down their village, because these adventurers have a king's summons, these NPCs assume the roles of adventurers and go and seek out the king's summons. There are mentions of a previous character romance between one of the characters and his wife in the past, but it's only an explanation, and so it's not exactly a romantic story, and it's very, very minor. And the last book I have for you is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. While the movie may mislead you, there are absolutely no relationships within the actual Hobbit story. It just takes place where a hobbit named Bilbo Baggins gets pushed into being the thief of a band of 13 dwarves in order to travel to the Misty Mountains to find the dwarves' Arkenstone so they can reclaim their presence within the kingdom. And like I said, there is no romance thing within the story itself. So there we have my 5 stories with basically no romance in them. Please let me know in the comments down below what some stories you found had absolutely no romance within its pages. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you stick around by liking and subscribing, and I hope to see your faces next time. Goodbye!